The Saudi interests in the Syrian civil war is to push the Iranians out of Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq altogether. What is important to understand here is that Saudi Arabia and Iran have a history of troubled relations. These relations took a turn for the worse with Iran's role in the US-Iraq war in 2003. By disassembling the Iraqi army and Saddam's Ba'ath party, the US created a power vacuum in Iraq, which was quickly filled by pro-Iranian figures. And for the first time in a long time, a pro-Shiite state now bordered the Saudi kingdom. And this makes the Saudis very anxious because they too have quite a sizable Shiite community. And they feel that this rise of Shiism could very well spread to their own country, and this is something Riyadh cannot tolerate. Since Iraq, the Saudis and Iranians have had several proxy clashes in Bahrain, Iraq, Lebanon, and now in Syria. My name is Shirvan, welcome to Caspian Report. Now, Saudi Arabia hasn't been shy about its position in the ongoing civil war in Syria. The country has condemned al-Assad's government and openly supported the opposition and the rebels. But a few months ago, the strategy shifted from somewhat passive support and from following the American and Turkish lead to active involvement in Syria, where Saudi Arabia now has its own interests. This sudden change in strategy has two reasons. First, it has to do with the fact that since mid-2013, the battlefield was starting to shift favorably towards al-Assad's forces, and Riyadh realized that US and Turkey's role wasn't aggressive enough. The Americans and Turks preferred to replace al-Assad but preserve his governmental system and thereby not repeat the Iraqi scenario in Syria. The Saudis feel this strategy will ultimately fail because Riyadh is convinced that once the opposition has the upper hand, Iran will support a new insurgency and prevent the rise of a Sunni-based government in Damascus. So from Saudi perspective, in order to assure victory, the complete destruction of the Syrian government is necessary. Riyadh fully knows that the anarchy that will follow the collapse of al-Assad's government will be exploited by transnationalist jihadist elements of the opposition. And if there's one thing the Saudi intelligence apparatus is good at, is organizing jihadist proxy wars. If this all sounds familiar, it is because the Saudis are applying the same tactic as in Afghanistan during the Soviet Mujahideen War. Today, Saudi Arabia is among the main financiers and weapon suppliers of the Syrian opposition, especially the jihadist elements of the overall opposition. The latter is where it gets interesting, because given the hostile relations between jihadists and the Saudi royal family, it seems contradictory for Saudi Arabia to support such a group. But what many people fail to realize is that Saudi Arabia is in fact one of the few Muslim countries that managed to successfully suppress jihadism within its own borders. So they have genuine experience in containing jihadism. And it's this experience that explains why the Saudis are putting all their eggs in one basket, because they feel comfortable in handling the jihadist blowback that would eventually result from the civil war. Plus, Syria doesn't border the Saudi kingdom, therefore the jihadist spillover would be minimal. For example, if a civil war broke out in neighboring Jordan, the Saudis would not have supported the jihadists. That would be too risky. So Syria is a relative safe bet for the Saudis, and they're going all for it. The second reason why Riyadh is changing its strategy has to do with the negotiations with the US and Iran. Now, it's no secret that the United States and Saudi Arabia have very close relations. In fact, the relations are so close that Saudi Arabia's national interests play a major role in the negotiations between the US and Iran. The Saudis believe that the US is willing to compromise with Iran without taking the Saudi interests into consideration. This causes major concern for Saudi Arabia, whose national security is interwoven with US influence in the region. So the sooner the Saudis can put an end to the rule of al-Assad, the sooner they can put an end to the Iranian re-emergence in the region and prevent an American-Iranian compromise altogether. And this in the end would ultimately benefit the Saudis. This was a Caspian report by me, Shirvan. If you found this video useful, then consider sharing it with your friends on Facebook or Twitter. And be sure to share your thoughts on this subject in the comment section. Anyway, thank you for watching, take care and sağ ol.